Hello, we're continuing our series of informational videos on the Neshoba High School building project. We're going to talk about the existing conditions at the high school. Superintendent Downing, there was a report in 2015 about existing conditions at the high school. Can you kind of summarize what that report said?
Yeah, I did some looking into that and learned that we had a space study group at the time that was a time of high enrollment for the school district. And so the school committee commanded this group to look at the size of our spaces and if they're adequate, but also what are the conditions of those spaces. And that report that came out in 2016 then cited inadequate size of the spaces at our high school, that our science labs were woefully out of date and with poor ventilation and could not provide the type of science education that we look to. I spoke a little bit about this when I spoke to the NEASC report, but it's going back a decade or more that we've seen issues with the physical plant that need to be addressed. And I think Mr. Frieswick has a lot more detail and understands that depth more than I do.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize for not introducing you properly. This is Rob Frieswick, Facilities Director of the Neshoba Regional School District, and Kirk Downing, Superintendent of the school district. Rob, there have been issues with the physical plant going back a decade or more. Can you point out the issues that we have historically managed with regards to the physical plant at the high school?
Sure. The building is originally built in 1961 with additions over the years. The most recent addition wrapping up 99-2000. Since then, with just the age of HVAC equipment, roofs, windows, doors, things like that, they're all starting to deteriorate. They're all past their useful life at this point. We're constantly having to repair the HVAC system. Compressors are failing, the piping is failing, which is causing leakage of the refrigerant, which is R22, which is actually banned by the EPA at this point. So it's very, very costly to repair these specific pieces of equipment due to the cost of the refrigerants. The doors and windows, they're all starting to rot. A lot of the windows in the building are single pane windows, which has zero energy efficiency whatsoever with them. Again, with the roofing, some areas of the roofing are 25 plus years old, and we're constantly having to bring in contractors to repair them.
Okay. Over a year ago, there was a presentation given to the school building committee on conditions of Neshoba Regional High School. And can you highlight some of the existing conditions that cannot be addressed with local maintenance, and that will be taken care of with a new high school?
Sure. I think one of the biggest things would be the boiler plant, the HVAC system. Again, they're 25 plus years old. The boilers are oil-fed boilers, which you can imagine. It's the carbon. The carbon that we're emitting into the atmosphere is not great. The windows, doors, like I had just mentioned, they're past their useful life expectancy at this point. Again, with the roof, the building has little to no insulation in it whatsoever. So there's no thermal break. When the days get hot, the heat transfers inside the building. Same thing in the wintertime. What we have to do in the wintertime when it gets real cold is set the building to occupied mode. We have two different settings for the building. One is occupied and one is unoccupied. And then unoccupied is at night setback. But it can't maintain the building to certain degrees where we won't struggle bringing the building up to temperature when we go into occupied mode. So essentially we're running the boilers 24 hours a day just to maintain heat in the building. And then again, in the summertime, it's a struggle to maintain the cool temps in the building.
Okay, thank you. The school was built, again, in the early 60s. It was common to use some building materials that are no longer used in construction. And so can you tell us a bit about asbestos mitigation at the high school?
Sure. Due to the age of the building and, like you said, the construction materials back in that time, there are asbestos-containing materials in that building. There was a large abatement project done during that last renovation, but there are still areas in the building that do have asbestos. Per state guidelines, we have to have an asbestos management plan, and within that plan, there's periodic surveillance. And we do find things from time to time that need to be remediated. There's window glazing, there's joint compound on walls in some of the older part of the buildings. Some of the piping in the building, it's what they call mudded joints. A lot of times those are asbestos-containing materials. So it's an added, consistent cost that we have to deal with during these periodic surveillances, we do find issues that have to be abated. So it's a continual cost year after year.
Okay, thank you. And what can we expect in terms of energy efficiency, and what efforts is the district making to provide green energy solutions in the new project?
It's a great question. Like I mentioned before, the current building has no efficiency whatsoever due to the lack of insulation that's in the building. Due to new codes, Massachusetts state codes and standards, the building will be extremely efficient. We'll have double, if not triple pane windows. We're going to have a geothermal heating and cooling system. And just the controls in the building will allow us to be much more efficient than we are right now.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Kirk. Rob, appreciate it very much. Thank you.